Sudhir, who writes in to say how relevant will be the past performance and the skills exhibited by the fund manager after the reclassification of a mutual fund scheme. What's your advice to a layman?
It is always relevant, it is, that's the key. The skill and the delivery in the past of a fund manager is all there to it. That is what you look at. And I don't think, this is a reclassification process which the funds are undergoing. It is not a big rejig in a sense that if a fund manager is managing a mid-cap fund and he ends up managing a multi-cap fund, these are the kind of changes that we are witnessing. There is a possibility that so I don't think you have to take much. You should be concerned as much. In some cases, only in the cases where the fund is becoming too big, you have to take a decision. And still, in many categories, it may not be relevant. In some categories, the economies of scale will trigger in, and it could be advantageous. In some cases, some categories, big funds are better. But as I said earlier in the discussion, that in some categories you have to be concerned. Too big a fund in categories where it becomes a serious disadvantage, you have to worry. My advice to layman is that stay put. If you have chosen and this is where the simplicity of your investment approach really helps. If you have chosen too many small cap funds and now a lot of them are merging, and you should try and get, you should be investing a bulk of your money should be invested in funds which are broader mandate, diversified fund, multi-caps, and you remember in all our discussion we have been trying to say that diversify nicely with as few fund as possible, and if you're following that approach, you will be least affected. Some cases you have to worry where the funds are becoming very big, or there is a change in attribute. Some of the balanced fund will become balanced advantage, so they will be very defensive oriented from here on. And in the past 10-15 years, they have been very aggressive. They have almost like an equity fund. Moderate your expectations there. Take a call. Understand these things. The whole advantage of this whole exercise, the advantage of this whole exercise, is that when you invest in a fund, that fund will retain its character all through.
So, can we say it is streamlining things?
It is a streamlining thing. Yes.
Okay, and also when we say to our investors, you should be cautious, when the fundamental attribute is getting changed, what should he be doing then? If in case the fundamental attribute has changed, then get out immediately and...
No.
Then what
because
should
one is that I have seen most of the changes. In case of fixed income fund, investors don't have much, individual investors don't have much investments in fixed income fund, but they will also become more clearer. Okay. I think most investors should be more, conservatively inclined on those categories. Don't get into those exotic categories. Equity category and hybrids, I don't think you have to worry much, because most of the rejig has happened in a very nominal way, in a very small incremental way. Very few cases where I see that there's a big change. 2 notches up, something which was down there becoming one on the scale of risk. Otherwise, I don't see that investors should panic and worry about this. And there is absolutely nothing, and I think the streamlining of the hybrid categories will prove to be very useful for investors, because it just came from nowhere. Balanced funds were actually, aggressive hybrid funds, or the equity income fund, the innovation in recent categories, or the balanced advantage fund, which came from, which happened in 2-3 years, which gave you the tax efficiency. It has actually brought on forefront that don't be guided by taxes. Be guided by your goals, be guided by your risk tolerance, be guided by the riskiness of the fund.
Okay, and this process of classification, is it over, or is it ongoing? Is this work in progress?
It is work in progress. Okay. Some part of it is over. Some funds have changed their name.
Okay.
The merger initiative is on. Most of them have made the announcement of all the changes that will happen, but there is an effective date from when it will happen.
Okay.
So on one day you will see your account statement. So even on Value Research Online now you will be witnessing where there is a change of name. We put the new name, and then underneath that we see erstwhile this fund, because funds are also consumer brands in a certain way.
Absolutely.
People have been investing for many years, and then suddenly you realize that the fund that you're investing in is not that one. So we are we are tagging the old name alongside the new name for people to
For better
relate to
understanding,
them, for
yeah.
better understanding.